All right, guys, we're back in here with Shaggys Small Engines. Hi, I'm Shaggy. How you doing? Today we've got this Sportsman 3.5 horsepower. It's a Sportsman generator. A buddy said he was having some trouble with it, and I've got to get a better camera or a better light over here. I would have had some posts sooner, but I've been having some trouble. The trouble I've been having has basically been the camera that I was lent. Don't really know how to operate it, so I'm going to have to get a camera or at least get some kind of set up to see what's going on as far as getting my better clarity set up. But for right now, as you can see, I'm at my desk in the house, and my dog really wants to be part of this, so y'all wave to Kubo. I'm going to go ahead and get this set up real quick to where you can better see me, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, as you can see, I got the camera better set up. For this, we're going to be doing a carburetor replacement. Got my carburetor right here. As always, I kind of short on a knot. Alright, so in this kit, we have a few parts here. We've got our carburetor. Obviously, for a carburetor replacement, we need a carburetor. It's the same style carburetor as the one that's on it. Be using that. A spark plug, which, like I say in my other videos, I do recommend going ahead and replacing the spark plug, even if it's just with a cheapo for a temporary amount of time. The cheapo will work. It's just not good quality, if that's the way to word it. But we will be using the supplied setup. Now, this does offer a threaded fuel shutoff. The one that's on here actually does work, so this will go put away for a future project. There's a kill shutoff that is not on this, actually. This one only features a low oil shutoff, but this is a electronic kill. Of course, you've got a set of gaskets front and back. Make sure you identify which ones are which before you put them on backwards. We will be using the supplied fuel line because this one looks like it's seen a little bit of age. It feels kind of tough. This one is a little bit more flexible. They do offer fuel. Excuse me. They do offer fuel filters in here. They got inline fuel filters and things like that. None of these came in this kit are actually necessary, but this was the best qualified carburetor for this build. So once again, this is a Sportsman. I want to say it's a Briggs because that's what it appears to be, just with a Sportsman 3.5 horsepower sticker on top. Take your cover off. And this one actually you could probably use as a bowl to keep your bolts in. Somebody replace this with what looks like some form of insulating foam in a car. The first issue you'll run into here is, I don't know if you can see it very well, which you probably can't, is you've got two nuts, and I'm not 100% on what size they are, but I want to say they're size 11. They're a little bit big, so that's going to be a size 10. Always remember that you could check 7/16 to be on the safe side. They are not a 7/16. If you want to go to 10, yep, that's them. They're size 10. I'm going to have one short well socket and one long well socket or deep well socket. And then I'm going to come back when I remove the nuts so you can see the disassembly. Alright guys, so 1/4 inch socket, size 10. Nuts are on there pretty good. I believe when I was running this last, I did do a test run on it after I cleaned it up a minute. The problem that I was running into was that the carburetor needed replaced. This is from the same guy that had a Ryobi generator. I think he said this was for a food truck or some small lights he had running for his business. Take this out the side. It's only got an air hose on it, a vacuum supply, but it feeds back into the top of the gas tank to assist with it not being stuck, if that makes better sense. What it'll do is air will pass to the back of this assembly and it'll go into the tank and keep it from pretty much stopping a vacuum supply, because this is a gravity feed carburetor. Next on the stop is we're going to have our needle nose. Make sure your fuel switch is in off all the way, and this one is. Go ahead and loosen the tube. As you can see, I'm working it off. This has been on there a little while, so it's a little bit tight. No excuse for these clamps, though. These clamps are good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these clamps because we have a new hose that is going on. I'll take that off in a second. Go ahead and remove the other clamp. There it goes. With that, you can take off this fuel hose. It's not quite as bad as I thought, but there is a little age to it. So like I said, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and replace. On this, you'll see you've got a spring, and they're pretty easy to remove. This will help y'all better see. I keep forgetting I have this thing on, even though I put it on right before I film. Take the spring out and work this slide up. Just like that. It comes off as you slide this off. Alright, and then you got the gasket that goes behind to what is considered an intake manifold. I'll show you that here in just a second. This carburetor is fairly fresh, but it looks like it's been squeezed so much that it's not able to make a decent amount of vacuum without sucking through the sides. And this one is actually torn. Alright, let's see. There you go. You see the left side is actually torn a little bit. The right side has been squished so much, it's just not helping. They got the age on the fuel line and two nuts. Alright, as you go up here, you'll see how you got the air intake. This is where you want to be checking, guys, right here. Behind this is actually another gasket. This gasket is actually in fairly decent shape, mind you, but it's so much squeezed that it is actually flat. Now, when you go into your gaskets, you'll see there are only two gaskets, right? So I know that the vacuum leak on this, after I tested it, seemed to have come behind our intake manifold. Our intake manifold right there, guys. The intake manifold obviously is just a strip of plastic But I'm going to do some magic real quick, and we're going to set y'all back down for a minute. All right, so here we go. Got the supplied gaskets. I know one goes to the outside of this new carburetor. That'd be that one. You want your manifold back on. There's not really a wrong way on this model. Then you want your gasket that goes behind your carburetor to your manifold. Should just be a round gasket, or a round headed gasket, no funny pieces on it or anything. Just go ahead and make sure it sits flush. Then you want to install your new carburetor. Keep in mind, when you go to install this new carburetor, I'm going to show y'all where it needs to be and how it needs to be. When you install the new carburetor, you've got these pieces up top, right here. All right, these are going to get in your way because they have to fit in this control arm. In the control arm right here. There we go. Sorry. I don't know why we're so fuzzy. On the old style, it's the same setup. The big one, of course you see the big one. The big one goes right here. The small one goes right there. It's the same setup. Now what we'll do with this is we'll go ahead and put it all together. And I'm going to put y'all to the side. I'm going to show you the reverse way of doing this. Reverse way is pretty simple. I find that doing this in a certain order is best, because if you go to do this a certain way, you can't mess it up. So I'm going to put y'all over here and I'm going to describe what I'm doing, because I can't hold this and do this at the same time. But basically, take the control rod for your governor and you'll slide it in first. But keep in mind, this is as you put your carburetor in. And to do that, I remember when I was diagnosing it, I bent it just a little bit with my needle nose and was able to rock it in. Alright, now the spring goes in the opening in the front, the small hole. Alright, and that pretty much mounts up our carburetor. Then you take your other gasket. Your other gasket will go right here. Right? And you can see it's got smaller holes. I don't know why they do it like this, but I only make that noise because I'm getting a little frustrated at somehow some things are not always the easiest solution. They never seem to be. But here we go again. You work it onto that stud. It's not a bolt, it's a stud. It's got threads at both ends and no head. Just be glad we didn't have to replace one of those, guys. You don't talk about scratching your head because it's a giant pain. That's exactly it. You'll guide that down as flush as you can. Remember, you got a air cleaner housing to go in place. You got a fuel line to hook up. But now everything's in place. This right here actually is just your choke. You can see it's closed, and there it's open. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up just a hair. Actually, that would work. Cool. And it's on there. It's not super pretty, but it's on there. Like I said, I do not like these things. Just like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. Go ahead and work this on the carburetor a little better. I'm going to make sure this one is actually all the way on as best I can. Would actually help if I had the clamp on. Clamp on. Clamp on, dude. And from what I can see, it would be easier for me to take the top clamp off, slide it all the way down. Like I say, guys, don't make my mistakes. Give me my other pliers, because I'm getting frustrated. Do 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 do. And there we go. There's one. Slide that one back off. And we can slide that right there. Since it's skinnier, I should be able to work it right over. Make sure that's all the way in and clamped. This has got to be clamped below the bulb. I want y'all to make sure of that. And the bulb I'm referring to is there is actually a spread out end on each of these. It's for better seal as far as your fuel lines. It helps you keep from having a leak. You'll go ahead and move this pull handle out of the way. Line up your carburetor housing for your filter. And you will line up this vent hose that comes from the valve cover on the engine. Go ahead and line up the vent hose. You can see it's kind of pushing out a little bit on that, but the nut will hold those in. You'll go ahead and hand thread your nuts, guys. Stop laughing, it's not that funny. Go ahead and get your nuts hand threaded on there. Right. I believe I grabbed the wrong size. No, that's an 11. I grabbed the wrong size, y'all. It was a 10 I was supposed to use, and I grabbed an 11. I'm basically using this to quote-unquote hand tighten everything up. Make sure these things are good and tight. You don't want to create any kind of an air gap in there, because if you do, it's going to run on choke pretty much. And that being said, it is not fun when these things run on choke. It literally sucks. It sucks a lot. That's the joke about the choke, man. It's a joke about the choke, man. It sucks. Alright, so that stays open. Hey guys, it's Shaggy. I just wanted to give a minute to give a shout out to my buddy Flying Brian over at Flying Brian's Garage. I've still got some projects going on over there with him, and at this time I just kind of wanted to give a small commercial break. I basically wanted to tell you guys, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. I'll try and update my video repertoire as much as I can.
At this time, I'm really just trying to go ahead and get everything set up the way I need to. And for that to happen, I have to get more likes and more followers and more subscribers. If you haven't already, please go check me out on Facebook at Shaggy's Repairs. I do post on there almost daily. Uh, at that time, it's kind of small, but that's how everything starts. You have to start small. So go ahead and check me out. You know, Shaggys Small Engines, Shaggy's Repairs on Facebook, and go ahead and check out Flying Brian at Flying Brian's Garage. If y'all haven't already, like I said, go ahead and hit that bell. Make sure it hit all. Go ahead and like my videos. Check them out. I'll try and have more here in the next week. There is a project I call Codename Warlock. Uh, I'll have videos on it here soon. I've just got to get to where I can get better recordings out of my equipment. Um, but it's actually out in the shop, and I've got a huge surprise for you on that one. Emphasis on huge. Other than that, let's get back to the video.
Now to our spark plug. This one looks like it's seen better days. It's missing a chunk out of the boot. I may have to talk to the customer about that and see what he would like to do about it. On this, we're going to have to check. It's not a 3/4, it's 13/16. 13/16, y'all. We're going ahead to pull the spark plug out. It's a 3/4, 13/16, pardon. It's a 13/16 we're using. Once you break it loose, you should be able to just finger work it around. As you can see, using just my fingers, y'all. We're going to check his spark plug out before we decide to replace it. This spark plug has seen better days, y'all. It will probably work, but it also, quote unquote, won't work. Not for me, anyway. So you want to open your spark plug. What I do is I actually check thread sizes. And this thread on here is not the right one. This is an E7RTC setup on here, and this is a F6TC that they decided to send me. So that's not going to work. I know this spark plug does actually work, and in this situation, to get it back to the customer, I'm going to clean the spark plug. What I've done here, I don't know how well you can see that, is I've actually scraped off a lot of that, which is going to help because I do not currently possess a spark plug that will fit this. And the customer knows what's going on with it. I tell them everything. Don't hold nothing back, you know. So we're going to install this back in, and I'm going to let them know that it may need a spark plug soon. But this one does work. I wasn't able to replace it. The kit did not have the right size spark plug. Once again, that's a 13/16 socket. Once again, we're back. I guess my phone decided that that was too big of a file, so it told me to start another video. But what I was doing before I was so rudely cut off by my phone is we had installed the spark plug, we'd cleaned it out, we'd made sure that it didn't have so much carbon on it. We went ahead and kind of cleaned it up really good, made sure it was gapped appropriately, and we're back to installing the spark plug. Now, as you can see, I've got the spark plug lined up. I can take my 13/16, go around go around on it and get it secured, but I'm having a little trouble reaching it. So I can finger tighten it. Most of the way down. And then take your socket. You'll take your ratchet. Make sure it's turned to the right. You'll go ahead and snug that down. You don't want to over tighten it, break any of the ceramic, nothing like that. And as you can see, we got our spark plug in there. Sorry for the loud noise. As you can see, we got our spark plug in there. Now, you want to make sure the ignition wire is hooked up appropriately. Like I said, this ignition wire has been a little roughed up, but it does still work. Take their replacement filter, which I will notify them that they will need a new one. But this is their course of action, so that's what they want. I will advise them against it, but I need to put it back together and make sure it does run. Now keep in mind, this is a 4-stroke engine. It does not get an oil gas mixture, it gets straight gas. And of course, make sure it does get serviced. You also want to make sure the oil is good in it. You want to make sure that none of the gas is old. Old gas tends to ruin a carburetor really quickly. I've seen it happen a few times, and it does happen, guys. It's not a myth. It's not something gas corporations come up with, nothing like that. But give me a second, I'll step outside. Yep, there you go. Alright guys, so I'm stepped outside. I've got the fuel shut on. I did turn it on inside the house, which I was eagerly rushed outside. Told not to do this inside. I've got a bad habit of just doing it. Now that being said, I know that the inside of this tank, probably going to need to raise up one end of it slightly to get the gas to go down to the side. And this will be the first on it's been with the new carburetor. Get some fuel going on the power switch. Cut the fuel switch off so that way it'll run through the carburetor, because the test was for it to run, not for it to see how long it could last. As you can see, I've got a few other projects around the garage. The red generator got fixed earlier this week. The Toro push mower runs. There's a hyper tough weed eater we'll get to next video. I've got Troy built weed eaters and edgers that have all been fixed, and a mini moto 40cc mini bike that runs great. We're going to go ahead and shut it off. But there it is, guys. It's a Sportsman 3.5 horsepower. Looks like a Briggs engine, resembles one. Carburetor swap, cleaned up the spark plug on it, fired right up, operates outside of choke. That was the requested performance of the generator whenever I received it. Like I said, it was just old. It had been sitting for a little while, kind of gunked up. Now everything works wonderfully. So this has been Shaggy Small Engine Repairs. Y'all don't get none on you.